Welcome, everybody. I am so happy today to have Adriaan Louw. Adriaan is one of the few people in PT that go by just one name. He's like Cher, like Prince, like Madonna. It's Adriaan. And when we talk about Adriaan, everybody knows who you're talking about. So I am so excited today to talk to Adriaan, as he wants to be called. I mean, he's got more titles behind his name. He does so many things for this next level interview. Adriaan, welcome. Thank you for making time out of your busy schedule. I know you've been traveling. You've been doing research in all sorts of fun areas. It was like the UK, Australia, Story City, Iowa. I mean, you are all over the place. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Matthew. Great to see you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. And man, I wish I was like Cher or Madonna or one of those, but I'll take it on a Monday morning. Why not?
Hey, you are a one name phenomenon in the PT and pain science education realm. I can talk to people and just say, "Hey, I'm having this meeting with Adriaan," or "Hey, have you read Adriaan's book?" And they know exact. I don't even need to give the full on details, which I know you can do that later on. But I just say your name, they know who we're talking about, and they have such great respect for you. I have such great respect for you. So, but why don't we dive into some of the questions? I mean, I know you. I've known you for a way long time,
Yeah.
but why don't you introduce yourself to people who are new here and tell us a little bit, how long you've been in the space and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, well, I'd be glad to do it, Matthew. So for those that don't know, I'm a physical therapist. That's always the first thing I say. I was trained as a physical therapist many years ago. So I've been a therapist for 33 years and, trained in South Africa. I was born and raised in South Africa, trained there. I was recruited to come work in the United States, came here for 1 year, one became two, three, four, and many, and here I am. And yeah, over time, from a physical therapist, a clinician, I actually got very interested in teaching, helping people understand more of the stuff we're doing. And by the way, very strongly in the manual therapy orthopedic world, but then started shifting me heavy towards the pain side. And then, I mean, just like you, Matthew, you start asking more questions and they have answers. And then somebody said, well, you should do research. And lo and behold, before you know it, you start doing one thing, the next thing, and then you start doing research. So I've been a PT for 33 years. I've been doing research since early 2000s. Along the lines, we also published books, just because we created them for research. And people are like, can we have that book? And then I think what most people probably know me from is just I have a traveling circus, right? I teach on the weekend, I pack up my bags and I travel to the next town and put up the tent. And I'll probably keep doing that for a while, but I'm an educator. So I speak at a lot of events, I put on workshops. So a little bit of everything. And when I have time, I cut the grass, I take the trash out. So just a normal person that does normal things, I think. Yeah.
He's a normal person that just goes by one name, and he's so entertaining. I mean, if
Yeah.
you people if you're watching this right now, which I appreciate you watching this nice little interview, if you haven't had a chance to sit down and have a course with Adriaan, it's a phenomenal experience. I don't know what it is with all people south of the equator. You guys all have great jokes, know how to have fun, which a lot of us in North America, we're just, strict, and it's so fun. I mean, you get done with the weekend and yes, your brain's hurting, your abdominals are hurting because you're laughing and stuff. He makes it so entertaining, which really brought you into those books and stuff. And again, those are easy to read and stuff. But what kind of inspired you to specialize and focus in on that pain science, and how has it really shaped you as a clinician and your approach to patient care?
Mm. I've been asked that a lot of things. And the easy answer I'm going to keep saying probably till the day I'm done, Matthew, is I failed. I have no problem telling people I was trained orthopedically, very strict, very black and white. Everything had a very specific answer, and nothing wrong with it, by the way. But I could not help more complex patients. If the tools that I had in my toolbox didn't work anymore, I'm done. I have no idea. And as you were joking about the Southern Hemisphere thing, when you have a funny accent You got some cool techniques. Everybody comes and sees you, and typically the more complex patients, because what is common in our profession is if I cannot help somebody, well, go see Matthew over there. I heard he's pretty cool. He's over at Bethel College. He knows exactly what he's doing. And that's what happened to me. I started seeing more complex, and I couldn't help people. And I was really frustrated. And I have no problem telling people I was this close to burnout, to just being done with the profession. And then I actually, some of my instructors told me about this cool guy from Australia, David Butler, who was doing these cool neurodynamic stuff. And I started reading a few papers, and I happened to meet him just like everybody else. I went to a class and I sat in the front row like a nerd. And within 5 minutes, I was like, this is so cool. And David and I instantly connected. And so, long story short, I failed. I didn't know what to do. I found a new paradigm. This pain stuff, it wasn't new as much as it filled the cracks. I still needed reasoning. I still needed my techniques. I still needed my hand skills. But now I knew more about how to work with complex patients. And, I'm just going to say it straight up. And then from there on out, I just had so many cool people help me. I am by no means sitting here today, whatever you say with the single name thing or whatever. I'm here just as a product of the David Butlers and the Lorimer Mosleys and the Louis Giffords and a lot of people along the way. My buddy Louw helped me, and Corey, and a lot of my friends along the way, apart from my wife, that, we got in this pain thing together, and you start talking about it. But I had a lot of cool people helping me along the way, but I failed. I absolutely failed. I had no idea what to do with them, which took me along this path. And that's kind of how I ended up. I didn't wake up one morning like, pain science, that sounds cool. Not even close. Sorry.
No, I mean, you think back to, unfortunately, in a lot of schools out there right now, in PA, PT, OT, and a lot of health sciences, even in medical school, they're teaching incorrect pain. It's typically a first or second semester thing with modalities and gait control and the old Adriaan or Descartes type fire, which I still have a sticker from you with that, and that's how it's still taught. And so it's, and you wonder why people get stuck, and why we have people practitioners out there preaching this. And I think that's where I got stuck also. I failed. I had a lot of my cool techniques, a lot of them from you, and then then it's like, but there's got to be something more. And sitting down, taking classes from you and David and Lomer, and really getting a good handle, like, oh, this is the part that has been missing, and really taking that. So I know for myself, I like to use a couple tools, in my rehab and stuff. But what have you seen that has really incorporate rehab tools with patients who have this elevated or enhanced pain, and how we treat them? What have you found helpful and helping clinicians make that connection and help those patients? What have you found out there that really is helpful?
Yeah, that's a tricky question, right? Because you can go in any direction, especially nowadays with technology. We talk about apps and all those kind of things. But you know what, Matthew, I still think one of the coolest things of the job that I have every day is to empower a patient. I mean, what a cool thing to take a human being that's hurting. They have no medical knowledge. They don't know what to do. They truly stuck. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. They come to our clinic, we teach them, we train them, but then we empower them by, maybe it is a piece of TheraBand that they have to go stick in the door and start pulling on it at home, and hey, you help yourself. Or a foam pad, which you can do some balance work on, or a nice foam roller, that you roll your back or whatever. Tim Flynn, who I've looked up at Tim Flynn for years, he's an icon in our profession. He made this cool statement actually in Minneapolis at a conference a while back, which caught my attention, which he said the future of healthcare is to help people help themselves. And I think it isn't that far a stretch now that we sit here with healthcare costs and everything to think, what a cool thing, to actually think about, and for a patient to go get a yoga mat, and now on their own accord, they do some nice stretches at night. They do some nice exercises, some breathing. They have that foam roller that can maybe the therapist helps them in the clinic a little bit, get things going. So it's kind of all those things, apart from, you can add, I mean, if I literally can go through all the different things that can help patients. In my world, in the pain world, obviously, I'm going to always come to knowledge, education. We talk a lot about health literacy, and pain is probably a subset of health literacy, but something we're focusing a lot of time on is pain literacy. Can we make people smarter about pain? And that's where a lot of the pain stuff coming, some of the books from David's group and our group or whatever, but the idea that can a person in pain read material and go, wow, I got it. And when they got it, really, the system calms down. So it's knowledge, it's movement, it is self-help, it's coping skills, it's empowerment, self-efficacy, all the cool stuff you and I can talk about. But that's where I see these things in a big picture. Yeah.
Well, I think back to, what was the study that you did a couple of years ago when you were teaching children? Again, this was the one that, I kept on thinking, well, only adults, and it's really, and again, the tougher patients you get, all of a sudden, sometimes the literacy drops down and like, oh, they can't understand it. So I kind of had this, fallacy that,
Mhm.
it's so complicated. My patients won't get it. Talk to me about that study that we were kind of touching upon a little bit this morning, but talk to me
Yeah.
about that.
I constantly say when I get closer to the end of my career and I sit in the nursing home one day and I kind of think back about my life as a professional, that's probably going to be the coolest thing we did. We built a middle school pain program for middle school kids. And the reason we aimed at middle school is because today's kids are tomorrow's adults. And can we do something upstream that when little Johnny falls off the playground equipment and he falls down, he goes, I got it. The guy with the funny accent explained it. That was kind of where we were going with the opioid epidemic. So long story short, today we've done about 10 different studies now. We've trained middle school kids. And the coolest thing is they have jumped higher in pain knowledge than anybody we've ever measured. I mean, we just got done with a study of 121 medical residents, and they didn't even jump that much. Kids are sponges. They learn, and we take these incredible concepts about pain, put it in stories, and they go, I got it. And the cool thing is, Matthew, as you said, we went to middle school, and then I literally sat in my same office I'm sitting now one day. I said, I wonder if elementary school kids could take it. So we ran to the elementary school uptown, and the principal was like, well, you can come do it for us. And so we then took elementary school kids, and guess what? They got it. On the other end, on the bookend scale, we went to nursing homes and took older adults, and they got it. And so this idea that it can only work from 19 to 65 or 18 to 65, and the cool part is we can now say older adults can learn about pain, young kids can learn about pain. It's interesting because I think we can train everybody. In the military, we trained veterans with traumatic brain injuries, and they got it. And so we did it in sign language. We did some seriously cool studies where we use it in sign language. People got it. We've done it in Spanish. They got it. And so there's this cool idea that everybody can got it. You just have to get it to their level. As for years, David Butler taught me that you got to get it at people's level where they are. And it's really cool that people can get it, and it's nice to see that out there. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why you and I have gotten along so well as you dumb it down to, my level, and I, with little finger here and finger there. And, I get it. So that's, again, it's super cool stuff. And that kind of actually leads into my next question, because I hear you're doing like a world tour, right? Like a Madonna tour, I heard. So tell me about this pain tour with Louw. Tell me a little bit about it, and what can learners expect from you and from the
Yeah.
tour, this upcoming tour? I think we got to make shirts and stuff, big old banner.
Yeah, I don't know
I'm
about
just
that.
thinking there, so.
Yeah,
But
I should hire you as the tour manager. No, it just, I mean,
roadies, we'll get some tour buses and stuff.
there you go. Matthew, it's no secret. I've been traveling. I mean, I always jokingly tell people I probably own one of the airlines. I travel week after week after week, but we just decided this year for the fall, especially, we're going to do these larger events where it's basically open to anybody. We're doing one in Denver, we're doing one in Dallas, we're doing one in Nashville, and then also Minneapolis. And the idea is just it's a big auditoriums, fill it up with healthcare providers. Any healthcare provider can pretty much come. We've trained PTs, OTs, MD, DO, PA, RN, the list goes on, right? And the goal, it ties back to what we said, kind of pain literacy. Can we just train more people, I every day I feel like, we've trained a lot of people, but there's a lot we haven't trained. And it's just these super events of more and more and more, the more people we can train. And that's kind of the idea, is just to increase the numbers and get more and more people there. The nice thing about the content, it applies to all clinical settings, acute care, pediatrics, outpatient, inpatient, sports, the list goes on. And as I said, all healthcare providers can do it. And that's really the goal of these events. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, we also have Elevate Pain Symposium coming in December. Tell me a little bit about that and what's exciting about that one.
Well, I think one of the cool things is it's online. So we get the whole thing, right? Traveling and hotels and all those things. But last year we had a really successful pain symposium. It's an online one-day event. It's also available on demand if you cannot do it. And basically we choose a topic and then we just bring speakers in. This year we're going to focus on multidisciplinary care. So we created a really cool case study of one of our patients. And we're going to actually have different people tell us how they're going to evaluate and treat them. And that's going to be an orthopedic surgeon, a pain physician, a PM&R doctor, a chiropractor, a PT, OT, psychologist, pharmacist. There's going to be a psychologist. There's going to be a dietitian. The list goes on. So for clinicians that want to basically say, I wonder how an orthopedic surgeon would look at this case, or a pain doctor, or a PT, or an OT, or whatever, that's what they're going to see in real time. This is a real patient that they're going to basically say, this is how I examine them as an orthopedic surgeon or a PT or whatever, and this is how I would treat them based on what's in front of me. And so it's going to be a really cool multidisciplinary review of a case. So we can develop a working knowledge, kind of like, oh, that's what they do in pain management. Oh, that's what they do. That's what the dietitian would do when they look at a patient like that. So, yeah.
Well, that sounds really, trying to get inside the heads of these other providers to know a little bit about how they look at or how they think about the same patient that we would think of sometimes differently. So that's going to be an awesome IPE and professional type of educational experience. So nice job with that one. So with your experience, obviously in the PT and pain world for a lot, what is one essential tool or technique that you believe that every new PT, I'll even say maybe not just new, because let's just say PTs in general, or people who are dealing with patients, with pain. What is one technique or one tool that you think that everyone should have at their disposal, and why?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I could probably, if we had this recording multiple different times, I'm going to give you a different answer. Something that resonates a lot with me, Matthew, is Theodore Roosevelt's quote: "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." I know we can talk about all kinds of cool stuff, whatever, but if we could just increase care, compassion, empathy, respect, dignity. I cannot tell you how many times I encounter patients that come in and nobody has really treated them well, and I feel bad. I mean, so what I really would like, if there was a tool, and I don't know if it's a tool because you're asking about that, but if there's something I could just stamp on every therapist as they come out of their graduate, would be to have empathy and compassion for people in pain, especially chronic pain. We've done such a bad job with them, which is so sad. The good news is the bar is very low. The bad news is the bar is very low. Yeah. And so I teach our residents this little thing. I always tell them, if a patient comes in, they're very complicated, and like, I have no idea what to do with them, Adriaan, I always tell them, be there. Just be there. And just, who are you? Tell me your story. What brings you here? And it works. You know it. I know it, that they, after they share their story, they go, oh, I feel so much better. Thank you. And you're like, we may sit there and go, well, we don't know what that does, but the brain scans on my wall here tells me it does a heck of a lot. Yeah. So the tool is truly that human skill. Bill Boysenall, who I highly respect, several years ago said, we call these things often soft skills. They're not soft skills, they're essential skills. And so there's no tool. I mean, I can probably tell you, well, this book is great and whatever, but it ties into the knowledge and the stuff, but just being a human being that meets another human being at a certain part of their journey, and just being for that 40 minutes or whatever I'm seeing you, just being a person and say, how can I help you? What can I do in this 40 minutes to make your day better? That's my job today. And so, you can call me in 20 minutes and ask me the same question and tell you something different. There's so many things I wish I can clone and build. This is the ideal clinician, but I think that's a great place, especially for people with chronic pain.
Well, that's a fabulous. I think that's things that we as other leaders are trying to get our students to emulate, is that humanism aspects, being able to walk alongside and listen and have that empathy. And I mean, I've had patients, much like you just said there, come in, talk to you, and I say, wow, I feel better. I'm like, I didn't do anything. I just listen to you. But sometimes you are the first person that they have been able to tell their story from beginning to end without interrupting them or just seeking clarification. And that is sad, in our medical society. Like, you've had this for how many years and you've never been able to express this, and then be able to just ask questions, using some of that motivational interviewing, or like, well, what about this? What do you think about that? And,
Yeah.
really, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's very cool. I believe that also. So I am right on there with it. I could give you, a virtual fist bump and stuff with that. I know we have a little bit more time left. I just, you know, looking at some of our patients who've had, post-traumatic stress disorders and some complex regional pain, chronic pain, I've started to see a few of these talking about how do we get them in the present time, the here and now, that they still tend to be lagging in the past. And some of this has been looking at like cold water plunges, or, being in nature, essentially things that help them bring them back to the present time versus the past. And for those of you who are watching, I did not script this. I haven't even, Adrian's like, where in the heck is Matthew going? Again, this is where my brain goes when I know that I'm talking to a master clinician who only needs to go by one name. But what are your thoughts about some of that stuff? Because I'm sure you've probably been aware of that, or, them talking about, hey, it's all about the present, getting them off of the old stuff.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Positive, negative? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of it, right? Unfortunately, everything I've read in pain tells me we have to go back and address some of the hurts of the past. If you look at trauma is becoming a big deal, Matthew. We know that probably about 1 in 3, 1 in 4 people we see on a regular basis that have some form of trauma in their life, some kind of abuse in their life. And yes, we can move forward, and there's enormous value for people to not keep going back, but to let's move forward. But as a single standalone technique, like MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, the research is stunning, absolutely stunning. And it's a cool process. But if you cannot go back and fix some of or address some of the issues, these things will cycle through all the time. They'll just keep going back and back. So I would probably lean in that direction. I understand why people do it. And it's cool because we find patients who ruminate all the time, and rumination is a huge part of pain that we have to get people off. Those kind of things. But if there's something that keeps dragging you back, for a little while in my life, I saw a lot of people in car accidents. I specialize, if you will, in car accidents, whiplash injuries, which I do not recommend. People get hurt, and there's the anger, the resentment, and if we cannot get past that, we're not going to recover. But we also have to deal with it. And so, as standalone mechanisms to give you relief, right? We do a plunge, or we do something to get you out of it today, right now. That's perfect. I love the idea of it's almost like breaking the cycle for a second. The pain docs I work with, I ask them about pain injections, say, Adriaan, it breaks the pain cycle. They said it doesn't fix anything, but it gives them a little relief. And so I would look at stuff like that, and we can teach people cool techniques from breathing, relaxation, to all the stuff you've mentioned. But everything I know about pain tells me we'll have to ultimately go back and take that hurt, and we'll have to unpack it over time to get rid of some of the healing, those kind of things. It would be very hard, I think, to be able to fully move further forward without maybe addressing or acknowledging some of those things. But yeah, you threw me for a curveball. I have to think through that one, but that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, I fully, when I read it, I'm like, yep, that makes sense,
Yeah.
But I think at a certain point, why doesn't it help everybody? Well, not everybody needs that. And sometimes I think even Brett, what you brought back up with the TheraBand, sometimes it's the thing that opens up the door for them to buy into what we're doing, that we're trying to help them. It gives us a tool. It opens the door crack, so then we can then work in that space and build that confidence, build that humanizing aspect. So if somebody came to me, and if I was, hey, I do cold plunges and I got people, and it helped break the cycle, and it helped get them there, so we can talk about these other things. Or if the person feels like they need ultrasound, and okay, but then it allows me to then educate them about pain.
Sure.
Whether that be dry needling, snapping, cracking, soft tissue, TheraBand, It's all kind of,
Well, to add to that, Matthew, people always, people associate, well, me and several others with this idea of teaching people about pain, right? Explaining pain to
yeah,
patients, and that's perfect. I'm okay with that. But often the patients that don't go with you, I mean, we teach them, and there's this idea, people are like, well, everybody Adriaan teaches gets better. Like, no. The people that don't get better are often the ones that have something in their back. There's
yeah,
something that keeps them back. And that's where we go deeper into things like trauma-informed care, and you go into acceptance commitment therapy, that you go deeper into these skill sets. And that's often the problem is you teach somebody that pain, one guy goes, I got it, thank you so much, I can move on with go do my thing. But there's those that don't move. And why don't they move? Well, there's other things. They're layered, right? There's these layers, these onion peels. We peel these skins all the time. But yeah, I would find it hard to think that those as standalone will be that effective long term. Short term, not a problem, but you have to address those.
yeah. Awesome. We all have those layers of onions. I mean, we're all complex. Our patients, I mean, our patients are as complex as we are, if not more, because they got other things layered on the outside. But
Yeah.
this has been fabulous, Adriaan. I have enjoyed this so much. You're probably like, oh, thank goodness to be done with Matthew.
No.
But this has been a fabulous talk for this OPTP Next Level interview with the one, the only Adriaan, only needing one name. I am excited that you are doing a world tour and also doing that pain symposium that people can, that's going to be really cool. I got to sign up for that because I'm really interested to hear how other people look at the same patient that I would, and then compare them and like, are they more like, how do I do that? So you have some really cool things. Again, I know you're doing research, in far off lands like Iowa that we should all be getting to. But Adriaan, thank you so very much for your time today, and talking to me about pain and just who you are. So awesome job. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Matthew. It's nice to see you again.